Today I'm going to show you which buff potions you should be using in your Terraria playthroughs. I'm using a tier list to show you this. I won't be using half of these because I don't classify them as buff potions. Only the stuff that's going to help us in fights is included in this list. There are some of these that might not be classified as buffs in your eyes, and there might be some left out that might be classified as buffs in your eyes. So make sure you let me know which ones you think should be included. Let's get started with the archery potion, which 10% increased bow damage and 20% increased arrow speed. Depends on if you are using bows in the first place, and for that reason I would say optional. It depends on what you're doing. I'll explain the difference between optional and situational in a moment. You'll find out in a couple seconds actually. So the archery potion is made from bottled water, day bloom, and lens, which is quite easy to make, but I wouldn't recommend it as a must-have if you're not using bows. I wasn't sure whether to put this in here in the first place, but it's situational calming potion. It lowers the chance of wyvern spawning when you're fighting bosses on a sky bridge. So if you are fighting them on a sky bridge, use a calming potion in order to stop the spawn of wyverns. You need bottled water and damselfish and day blooms for that. Sometimes fishing in Terraria is something that people try to avoid, so if you don't like fishing, then just don't use it and take on the wyverns as they spawn. Danger sense potion, I would go optional on that as well. I barely use it, to be honest. I only pick them up naturally. Allows you to see nearby danger sources so that you don't take damage from things by accident. And bottle of water, shiver torn, and cobweb. They're quite cheap to make, so maybe I should start making them in the future. But at the moment, I usually just skip them. 3, 2, and endurance potion is very useful. And the only reason why it's not a must-have is because you have to fish for it. Bottled water, armored cave fish, and blink root reduces damage taken by 10%, which is quite useful. If you're finding a boss too difficult, you can pick up the endurance potion and increase your damage resistance. Then we have the hunter potion. It'll be optional as well. It keeps an eye out for enemies for you. Shark fin, blink root, day bloom, bottled water. The shark fin makes it a bit expensive because sharks are a pain in the ass to try and spawn in the first place when you're looking for the mega shark. So I usually skip this and I just use the ones that I find naturally in the world. Inferno potion is cool. It provides light, but it's very expensive, so I'm going to put it into useful rather than must-have, because you need bottled water, you need flare fin koi, 2 obsidian fish, and you need a fire blossom. It only lasts 4 minutes. And one of the worst things about the Inferno potion is most bosses are immune to it. Iron skin potions, you should have those in your inventory at all times. I usually have stacks of them, like 40 to 100 of them. So whenever I hit the buff button, I'm getting an iron skin potion, increasing your defense by 8. And the reason why you're making so many of these is because they're so cheap. Bottled water, day bloom, iron ore, you get them from the very beginning of the game. Make a big pile of them, have them in your inventory at all times. Life force potion is something that's a must have, but you won't always have it in your inventory. Make sure you use them sparingly, and that's because it requires fishing to get, and you're going to be waiting until hard mode before you can start getting these. I'd recommend using life force potions for the last bosses of your playthrough. You don't need it earlier, in my opinion, but it's a fantastic item to have once you get to the late game. Magic power potion is very optional depending on what you are doing for a build. If you're using magic, then of course you're going to want the magic power potion. 20% magic damage, increased magic damage. Bottled water, moonglow, deadweed, fallen stars. Not that expensive actually, so. Mana regeneration potion, I'm actually going to put this in situational, and the reason why is because it's going to increase your mana regeneration, but if you have the right items, you're automatically going to be using mana potions anyway. So I'm not so sure if you need this, but you know, maybe some people out there who do mage playthroughs use these more often than I would, but they're quite cheap to make. Bottled water, moonglow, day bloom, and fallen star. Maybe let me know in the comment section if you use them in your playthroughs. Night owl potion, once again, is for vision. We're going to put that into situational. If you are not able to see the enemies, or if you're not able to see the arena that you've built for a boss, pop one of these. It's quite cheap. Bottled water, day bloom, blink root, and vision is very important in Terraria, especially when you're having a fight. Then we have the rage potion, increases critical chance by 10%. Bottled water, hemo piranha, and deathweed. It's very useful, so I'd put it in there. I would, but it must have if it wasn't for the fishing requirement. Regeneration potion, provides life regeneration, bottled water, day bloom, mushroom, must have. Along with the iron skin potion, you should have 30 or 40 of these in your inventory at all times. Whenever you hit that buff button, you're getting a regeneration potion. The shine potion is the same as the night owl potion. Vision is important. It's situational, depending on whether or not you can see. Summoner potion, optional if you're doing a summoner playthrough. Even if you're not doing a summoner playthrough, it's quite useful. And that is bottled water, variegated lardfish, and moongo. Increases the max number of minions by 1. And I have to say, I don't remember ever getting a lardfish before. I probably don't make these very often. I do use summons, and I use the enchanted table for summons, but I think I usually just collect these naturally around the world. But anyway, summoner potion optional. Swiftness potion must have in with the iron skin potion, a regeneration potion. You should have 20 or 30 of these. You know the drill by now. 25% increased movement speed, that's huge. Bottled water, blink root cactus. Movement speed is everything, especially at the end of the game. Get your swiftness potions on. Thorns potion, attackers also take damage. Bottled water, deadweed cactus. I'm actually thinking, because of how cheap this is, you should be getting it into your must-haves at this stage. You should have a bunch of those in your inventory. They made it a lot cheaper because it used to be more expensive to make, and because of that change, I think you should be putting that into your inventory at all times. This is situational, the Titan potion. It increases knockback, bottled water, bone, deadweed, and shiver torn. The reason why it's situational is because do you really want to knock back your enemies sometimes? And a lot of bosses are immune to knockback anyway. If you're trying to keep the enemy near you so you can hit it, and you're knocking it back all the time, it's actually going to cause more problems than anything. So knockback is not always good in a fight, but sometimes it's situational and you actually want to knock away your enemy, especially if they're a very melee-based enemy. Then we have the warmth potion. Once again, very situational. You're going up against an enemy that does cold damage and you want to avoid that. So warmth potion, bottled water, frost minnow, and shiver torn. Most people probably just skip this item anyway, but there it is in case you use it. Prat potion increases damage by 10%, bottled water, Eben Koi, and deadweed. I think we're going to have to put that on high useful next to the endurance potion. And I think we have covered every one of these. Now, there might be one or two in here that I've missed, but I believe those are the main ones. Now, I'm not going to cover the flasks, but I would say to you, get the flasks if you like to have extra damage on your weapons. Some of them are actually quite cheap, but a lot of them are not useful against most of the stronger enemies in the game. So they're great for like weaker enemies and stuff. When you're fighting bosses, a lot of bosses are immune to this. That's pretty much it. Make sure you guys let me know which ones I missed out on and you'd like to see. Our must-haves, the first 4, you should have them in your inventory at all times. Then you have the life force potion, which is kind of like later game. You should sparingly use those. Then the useful potions, you should have them and use them. I think especially the first 2, the wrath potion and the endurance potion. And then everything after that is optional and situational. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if anything you'd like to add or take away from it. And I'll see you again in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day.